Ethan, hey, congratulations on Angel-Headed Hipster, the songs of Marc Bolan and T-Rex.
Thank you.
You could not choose a shorter title for your documentary.
Well, here's the thing. You could just call it Angel-Headed Hipster, but it's what the album is called. I took the title. I had so many different titles for this film when I was working on it. And then I realized I like Hal's title for the album the best.
Most
but
definitely.
People at least know what they're going to go see. It's got some poetry to it from Allen Ginsberg, who actually came up with the phrase Angel-Headed Hipster. Hal took it from a Allen Ginsberg poem. And then, then people need to know what they're seeing. So really the second part is a subtitle.
That is true. Well, it's all good, but I want to congratulate you for that. The documentary is being showcased at Tribeca this year. How do you feel about that, Ethan?
Well, I feel amazing. I've been in a rabbit hole for a while with this. There's about 6 people who've seen this film, and that's all going to change on Friday. And so that's nerve-wracking, but incredibly exciting. And I'm incredibly grateful to the folks at Tribeca for taking a chance on this, for seeing a film that was not in its final stages. And it's saying, we believe in this. We want to show this. And I was like, okay. And then I was excited and I said, oh my God, I have to finish it. But I did, and we're here.
We are here, and we're talking about it, and I got to check out the film too, so it's great. So let's ask that obligatory question: what sparked you to do this documentary?
What sparked me is, as someone who's been around music for a long time, I knew very little about Marc Bolan, except for a couple of big hits like Bang a Gong and 20th Century Boy. And it really, and I thought, why do I know so little? And I started asking a lot of other people, and except for my British friends and very serious musicians, most people didn't even know who the name was. They didn't even know who the band was. And I thought, that's not right, because this music is so influential to everybody that's come since who's in music. And I have got a thesis about that, and I'm going to tell the story. And that's what I did. And I said, let's do an album, let's make a movie. And I had an extraordinary partner, Bill Kervishley, who helped make it all happen and convince people they should give us a little money to do it.
So was the challenge really like doing this tribute album, or was it and then the film, or the film came first? I'm trying to figure out which came first.
I had the idea for the album first.
Oh.
And then Bill said, great idea, but how are we gonna get money for an album in this music business climate we're in now? And then I came back, I said, well, how about if I film it? And then we'd have a visual element going with the album. And that's how it happened. That's how the album and the film happened. The album and the film were conceived as one project, like Lemonade, the Beyonce. I was inspired by that, and by just the idea of one audio visual experience. But, then we got the money and things happened, but I still kept it as together as I could. But for me, it was always one thing.
So to these, to these songsters that actually joined in this tribute album, you pitched it as sort of like a Marc Bolan. How did you find everyone to participate in this project?
Well, we started with the record producer. We started with Hal. We had talked to some other people, but Hal was the right fit, and he was willing. He had a very adventurous spirit. And then, so Hal had a big say on who was on the album. And some people he chose, some people we suggested to him, some it was happening at the same time, and some people actually approached us once they heard it was happening. So it was a mix. And then there was some people that as you see, that I put in the film that are not on the album.
I was going to say, if they were aware that they, this is going to be also a film.
Well, the people, everybody who's on film knew there was a camera there. And I told them we're making a movie. And so they were aware it was going to be a film. Everyone knew it was aware it was going to be a film. And then there were some people that I met along the way and said, there's an album being made, but I also want to have some other performances. Would you be willing to do a performance for the film? Like Snarky Puppy.
Mm-hmm.
Were not on the album, but are in the film. And then some people, because of time and space on the album, were shot for the album, and then for whatever reason they weren't on the album, but I kept their performances in the film.
So what do you suppose is the Marc Bolan influences down the road for all these songsters that came together for something like this? Because I was in the same boat. When I first watched the documentary, I was like, who is Marc Bolan and who is T-Rex? Maybe I'm part of a different generation. Maybe some of us, didn't really understand that, because your documentary led it to be, he has a great influence with everyone.
So what is the main influence?
Yeah.
Authenticity. He could pose and dress up and sell himself for sure, but it came from inside him. He's authentic. He is the real deal. And I think the songsters, as you say, who are recreating his music, know when they're doing these songs that they are in the presence of something special. Every single one of them, I promise you, they know they are in the presence of something very special and very unique, and that's inspiring. That's inspiring for any creative person.
Now, did you approach Marc Bolan's family and estate for a lot of the materials and old footages, or you had to seek them out yourself?
It was a combination. It was a combination of many things. It's a very complicated estate because he died tragically with no will. So, and the songs are split between two publishing houses that luckily we have a great relationship with. And the people who are really responsible all love this project. So I was very lucky, and they responded well to me and Bill and, his son, Gloria. But a lot of it are business people, who license the material or publish the songs, et cetera, et cetera.
It sounded like you had to jump just a few hoops just to get these licenses, because I've covered music documentaries before, and every director says, it's very difficult to utilize the music into a film. But it sounded like maybe you had an easier process than most.
No. No. But most of the people I dealt with were really great. You also have to understand my producing partner on this is a veteran of the music business. Mm-hmm. And so he either explained to me the ins and outs, or he was able to make some phone calls. Bill Kerbishley is a very important, influential manager in the business. And I really benefited from his knowledge and experience. and I've been around the music business. I know a lot of people in it, but I'd never been leading a project that had so many hoops to go through.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I had a great guide and a great partner who said this will be ridiculously hard, or there's a way to get around this, or, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So it was not easy, but I've been down this road before with other projects, just dealing with music. So it wasn't completely foreign to me. But my music clearance person, Kathy Carapella, is someone I actually worked with in the theater before, and she's incredibly well experienced. And sometimes it was just my pushiness. I was pushy. I was determined. And people felt I was in the right place. Bill and I were in the right, our heart was in the right place. So people have been pretty cooperative, I'd say. And let's face it, everybody wants to get the songs out there again. Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. I mean, after all, it is a tribute album. And
yeah.
The film is complements that. When did this all start? I'm just out of curiosity. Was this years ago?
Yeah. When did I have the idea? Or when did we actually start?
When did you actually start?
We actually started in 2016.
Oh, and then when did the album finish? Because obviously your film finished this week.
Done. I mean, a lot of it was done. Most of the early stuff was done between 2016 and 2018. This is a project that's supposed to be 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
And then stuff happens. And in 18, a few things got delayed. Then the album was finished, but the movie wasn't. And then T-Rex got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And so there was a push to get the album out. And I wasn't ready with the film, so I made some videos from my material to go with some songs. Then COVID happened. And while that, and Hal died early in COVID, and then the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction got delayed, but then everything got pushed. And I decided to just keep going with the film. And I also, because I had some time during the pandemic, and I had 2 editors who were willing to put the time in, that's when a lot of this was done. And some of the final interviews were done during the pandemic. So there was a whole other intense production period over the last 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
You certainly experienced everything all in this production. That is
yes, I did. Yes, I did. Like the rest of the world. This is really, the behind the scenes is the world falling apart while I made this film in more ways than one. I mean, you know, none of it is in the film, but it's all there. I mean, really, from Trump to the pandemic, to Black Lives Matter, to all of it was, you know, we were just in turmoil. We have been in turmoil. And this film personally gave me a purpose to make a statement about the world in a different way.
That is great. And I want to commend you for putting David Bowie in, you know, the iconic figure into your film, which you know, a lot of people are anticipating his documentary that's coming out later this summer. Could you talk about including and finding the footage for Bowie into this?
Sure. Well, in the Marc Bolan story, David Bowie is a big part of it. They were very good friends, and there's a lot of rumors that because they were frenemies at times, because they were competitive, that David stole things from Marc. Marc was jealous of David, and I did my own research with people that knew both of them, and I realized there was another story there, and the story was one of a real friendship, real love, and a real friendship. And that's never told, because that's not that interesting to a lot of people, is that these guys really loved each other and cared about each other and supported each other. And I had, when I was very young, when I was about 19, I worked on a production with David Bowie. So I knew what he was like, which was incredibly nice and collaborative. Something, you know, I don't think he cared the world to know. He was who he was. He was all about his art and how he presented his art, but he was a very, very nice man. Something you don't hear that much. So I thought, okay, something here. So with the little knowledge I had about Bowie, having been around him, that I never see portrayed anywhere. And then the knowledge I was getting about Marc, and then the knowledge of their friendship, I said, okay, that's interesting. And then we dug around and we found these interviews that supported my theory. And that's how that happened. And then, wow, you know, yeah, and the Bowie Estate, luckily, is very supportive of this project, which I'm thrilled about.
That's what it sounds like, because I understand, like, the Bowie Estate controls a lot of those materials, and it looked like they granted you some permission or some access.
Well, we have it for now. We got this far, but yes, but the RZO, again, you know, I had certain ins because of Bill to get to people quickly, like the Bowie Estate, like Elton John, and those things. But these people, and I think it comes across in the film, they really loved Marc. They really admired him and loved him. And I knew that the world needed to see that. The world needed to see the icons that they know about and that they appreciate: Elton John, David Bowie, Ringo Starr, to hear what they had to say. And I was surprised at, I mean, they really want to support this project. And I think the reason why the Bowie Estate is supporting it is because they know exactly what David thought.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm just going to throw it out there. Do you think, because it's portrayed in the film, do you think this your documentary is going to be far more receptive in you know, in Great Britain than the America? Because obviously, you know, there was a struggle of connection between Americans and British people.
No, that's a fair question. It's a good question. I think there will be great interest there for sure. How receptive they are, who knows? I mean, first of all, Bill is British. The company that financed this is, you know, is mainly the executives in Berlin and London who gave us the money. So I think, if anything, maybe British people might be a little pissed off that an American found his way to this, because there's been plenty of British documentaries, but they're not like this, and they're not really seriously about the music. They're more salacious in a way. Sorry, but they are. And this is a film about art and creativity, and I hope they'll embrace it. I know there'll be more interest there, but I hope they love it. I mean, even the British people, they still don't understand, many British people, that Marc is not known here by people like you. They don't understand that that's more common here than not. And so I also made that part of the story, which is how he was received here. Understood, misunderstood, appreciated, not appreciated. That's a big part of the story. Because for all acts, making it in America is the has been, since the beginning of rock and roll and continuing, I mean, the best bands came out of London, but the success they had here in America, Rolling Stones, the Beatles, on down the line, Led Zeppelin, all these British acts, the biggest acts ever, Elton John, David Bowie, I could just keep going, they're all British. You ask those artists, America is what made the difference for them. While they're patriotic, being British is so important to them in their identity. But it's a very interesting relationship because rock and roll started here with black music and blues and rhythm and blues, moved into rock and roll, and then the Brits did it and they made it even bigger than we did, and then became bigger here. It's a very interesting cycle of creativity between the Brits and America. But as I said, my partners on this project are British, so hopefully people won't be annoyed that I'm American over there, because it's an important film for the UK. So yeah, they're kind to me.
Most excellent, Ethan. Well, once again, congratulations for Angelheaded Hipster, and for the story of Marc Bolan, and hopefully American audiences, especially at Tribeca, will check out your documentary, and who knows how much more influence Marc Bolan would have had if he had another 10, 20, or 30 more years.
Yeah, who knows? Well, maybe he'll have it now.
Maybe he will. Thank you very much, Ethan, for carrying this conversation. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Gig.